There are a lot of items in Risk of Rain 2, and while I see tier list after tier list, one technical issue I rarely see covered is when to stop stacking items. All items have some level of stacking effect, but some are better left below a certain number. I'll be going over every item that needs some kind of limit, giving a brief explanation on why. It's also worth noting this is not a tier list. Items are listed here regardless of their usefulness. I'm also not going to explain really any of the item effects, as that would nearly double the length of the video. All the footage is taken from my Twitch streams. I'll put a link in the description for you guys. Let's start with the hard limit items. Once you get enough of these, any extras are absolutely useless. The Lens Maker's Glasses. Even without any other crit boosting items, you still have a 100% critical chance with 10 of these. I say take 9 and some other critical hit items, but stop at 10. Medkit. Assuming you don't have an Aegis, stop not at 20, but 18, as that will put you back in the safe zone of having one-shot protection from any hit. Monster Tooth. Same deal as the Medkit. At absolute most, take 45. That being said, given how often enemies spawn, and by extension drop their healing orbs, I suggest stopping at 10 for 20% health per orb. Sticky Bomb. At 20 stacks, every attack adds a bomb. Enjoy your extra 180% damage on every hit. Tri-Tip Dagger. This one varies depending on who you play as. It can take anywhere from 7 to 70 stacks to guarantee a bleed on every hit of every attack. Personally, I stop around the 7 to 8 range. Gorse Tome. By the time you get here, you should be getting enough money, but 25 stacks will guarantee all enemies dropping their gold pickups. I suggest taking 1 or 2 and enjoying what you find. Warhorn. With a Prion accumulator and no equipment cooldown items, you need a whopping 34 stacks of Warhorn for permanent uptime on its boost, assuming you are shooting the Prion accumulator the second it goes off cooldown. Try to keep your stacks in the single digits and you should be fine. Frost Relic. This one's a bit technical. Since there are only so many monsters on a stage at once, there's actually an upper limit to how big the snowstorm can get before it starts degrading faster than it can kill things. This is the only hard limit without a calculated upper limit, since I don't really know how many enemies can be on a stage at once, but any more than 3 Frost Relics is probably overkill. Beads of Fealty. There is literally no reason to take more than 1 of these unless you intend to farm cleansing pools for Irradiant Pearls. In that case, take as many as you want and go nuts, but if you're fighting this Twisted Scavenger, 1 is all you need. And lastly, Focused Convergence. This one has a hard-coded cap, and any stacks past 3 are literally useless. But by all means, go ahead, spend your Luna Coins on extra stacks that do nothing. Now, let's talk suggested limits. These don't have a hard cap, but once you get a few, it starts becoming less and less of a good idea to pick up another one. Let's get the easy ones out of the way. The following items provide a good boost on the first pickup, but a lesser value added on for each additional stack with no real incentive to stack it anyway. The Harvester's Scythe, for example, is well worth stacking, despite giving a lesser value on each additional pickup. Keep these stacks at 1 or 2, 3 at most. Bundle of Fireworks, Crowbar, Energy Drink, Gasoline, War Banner, Bandolier, Razor Wire, Halcyon Seed, and Purity. Now for some more opinion-based stuff. Your experience may vary. Backup Magazine. While having near endless uses of secondary skills is fun, I have never had trouble with more than 4 or 5. Plus, it still needs to recharge each use 1 at a time, and are you really going to be out of combat for that long? Personal Shield Generator. As much as I hate picking these up because of how it mixes up one-shot protection, picking up 1 will still let you heal up your primary HP to stay in the safe zone. Repulsion Armor Plate. Don't grab too many of these, they really only help with damage over time once the enemies start dealing thousands of damage per hit. Rusted Key. Given the constant time constraints, keep this around 1 stack if at all. If you find the box on your way to the teleporter, great. If not, keep moving. Stun Grenade. This one stacks non-linearly. It says 5% per stack, but at 10 stacks it's a paltry 33% chance, so grab 1 to 3 and move on, especially as some enemies can't be stunned at all. Topaz Brooch. While I argue you can't have enough of these, try to keep it around 10 or less if you find a printer. More is just gonna go further towards keeping your barrier topped off, but you should be fine. Deathmark. Don't really go over 4 or 5 stacks of this. If you can't kill an enemy with 4+ debuffs in the span of roughly 30 seconds after the first loop, you're doing something seriously wrong. The sole exception is, of course, scavengers. Old Guillotine. Take 8 at most. That'll insta-kill any elite enemy below 50% health, which means you don't need to worry as much about an overloading elite fully recharging their shields while you turn around to focus away on other things. Old War Stealthkit. 5 stacks give you 9 seconds of invisibility, enough to fully recharge any shields you may have. Enough said. Predatory Instincts. Despite how useful this is, the stacks wear off per hit and do not stack infinitely. I recommend taking around 4 or 5 of these, as they're always a welcome sight, but after that the stacks start degrading faster than I can add them on. Red Whip. The speed boost is appreciated, but how often are you really going to be out of combat? Take 1 at best. Wax Quail. Taking 2 or 3 is good, but more of that can and will make you overshoot all of your jumps. Don't. I'd also like to take a moment to group all of the legendary items in here at once, as more legendary effects is always better than one stacked on top of itself. A special shout out, however, goes to the 57-leaf clover. Given how many chance effects are rolled per hit, add in the clover, re-rolling things once per stack, and a few stacks of clover can and will lag or even crash your game. The clover's great, but try to keep it below 3. And now boss items. The Genesis Loop. The extremely large blast radius is nice, but extra stacks aren't going to help because of the low HP required to trigger it. Queen's Gland. 1 stack is always appreciated since the Beetle Guard is a permanent ally that can draw aggro for you, but more than 1 is really going to be overkill. Titanic Knurl. 1 stack on the first few stages is a delight, but once other healing starts showing up, it's next to useless. And finally, all of the lunar items. Take 1 stack at most, with the sole exception of Transcendence and Strides of Heresy, as those stack fairly well. For those of you wondering why Jester of the Drowned is in here, only the first stack gives a 50% cooldown reduction on your equipment. Beyond that, all stacks are the exact same as fuel cells, and your lunar coins are probably better spent elsewhere. And there you have it. Have a different opinion? Think stacking crowbars is the way to victory? Let me know in the comments. I'm happy to discuss with you guys. And I'll see you all on my streams. This is Fearless Falcon, signing off. See you later.